Boys and girls, we are back with another OSST, otherwise known as Old School Story Time. You guys really enjoyed the last one. You know, it's a different style of video where I kind of kick back, the videos are longer, and we kind of have a more personal, one-to-one type of talk. Today, last time we talked about my first experience with being ghosted. If you haven't checked that out, it's back on the channel if you guys want to go ahead and do so. But today, I think we're going to talk about the car accident I was involved in back in November. I've never sat down and made a full-on video about it, explaining exactly what happened from my point of view and everything. So I think we're going to go ahead and sit down and do that. So let's go ahead and get started. We're also playing some Blackout today. We're doing something else. Not many people seem to want to watch the Blackout videos, even though I did perform quite well in them. But you know, it's what I'm enjoying playing, so that's what I'm gonna play. But yeah, the story of the car accident I got involved in November, which sent me to the hospital for a few days, is gonna be our topic of the day. But the way it kind of all went down was really back in November. We were on our way, me, Bailey, and Jackson. We were on our way to go to the beach and then to Sherry's, which is a local restaurant in my area. I didn't want to go to the beach. I said let's not go to the beach, but it was 2 versus 1, so he was gonna take us to the beach anyways. And let me tell you, well, we never really ended up making it to the beach, in fact, because we crashed before we got to the beach, so that never happened. So I think we should have just gone to Sherry's in the first place, like I said. But you know, it obviously can't take anything back now. It's done and done. Peace out, homeboy. Let's get it, baby. First, we loaded up in the car and we started driving down near the beach area, and everything seemed to be doing just fine. Nothing crazy, nothing wild was happening, and but it was wet and slippery out that night, and it was kind of a weird vibe. But you know, we kind of just went with it. That's kind of how it had been, because when it was November in Washington, you know, there's tons of rain and it's always cold and whatnot, so we didn't really think too much of it. But on the way down there, you know, the car was going too fast. I didn't notice it. Nobody really noticed it. We were listening to music, having a good time, and sure enough, the car was going way too fast. Lost control of the car because of how slippery and wet it is, and because it was just we were going too fast, and we lost control of the car, and we spun, and we actually hit a car. We hit a car oncoming towards us, and we actually hit them so hard at such a high speed that we hit them, and then we spun around, did a full 360, and hit the same car again. So we hit the same car for a total of 2 times, which I didn't figure out till several days after the accident. And the reason why I knew that I didn't remember it was because after I was told that we had spun around and hit the same car twice, I didn't remember spinning, and I didn't remember hitting the same car twice, so I knew I must have blacked out in the middle of it probably once we made the first impact, because I didn't remember hitting another car. But once we did hit the other car, I think I was the first one to wake up, and I woke up, and I was in the passenger seat. I woke up, and I looked. Oh my God! You are a terrible human being for playing like this, bro. You deserve to never play this game. What the hell is your name? Unwanted-itis. You literally sit on top of a barn waiting for someone to fall in. You are cancerous, bro. Woke up, and to my left was Bailey, who was driving the car. He was passed out and unconscious, and he was bleeding from his mouth and from his nose, so that wasn't good. It was kind of scary to wake up to see that. I turned around to see Jackson, who was in the back seat, where Jackson had woken up as well, and he seemed to be okay at the time. Little did I know he, well, I mean, none of us were okay, but it looked like he was okay. Neither of us were bleeding. We were all intact. Nothing was missing. So for the moment, it seemed fine until the paramedics got there and checked us out further, which didn't go well. Paramedics got there, and they instantly were able to take out Bailey. Bailey was unconscious, so he started seizing in the car. They ended up taking him. They ended up getting the paramedics there, and they took him and immediately drove him to the hospital. So there was no knowing what happened to Bailey, at least at the beginning there, because he wasn't awake. I couldn't hear him, couldn't talk to him. Oh no, no! Oh my God, bro, you're terrible. So that was kind of scary to know, because I honestly didn't even know if he was still alive. For all I knew, he could have been dead. For all I knew, after taking away Bailey to the hospital. They go ahead and check me and Jackson out with the paramedics, tell us to answer basic questions to make sure, you know, we're okay, we're not injured or anything like in our brain area, which we later found out we both definitely were, because Jackson started answering the questions and he got them wrong. Like they asked him how old he was. Jackson said he was 18 years old, which at the time was incorrect because he was actually 19 years old. And you know, I went ahead and let the paramedics know, because I was like, dude, that's not right. You gotta check him out further. He answered a whole bunch of questions wrong, so they strapped Jackson down to a they got Jackson down on one of the stretchers, and they wouldn't let him move or anything. And I rode in the and that's when we went into the ambulance. I mean, I rode in the ambulance with him, you know, just in case, because you know, they still wanted to check me out further. It's just that I was at least able to answer some of the questions right, so I knew I wasn't like had memory loss. Because at that point, we had thought Jackson had lost memory or something because he couldn't answer any questions right. There we go. I'll take that one. And honestly, throughout this whole ordeal so far, I'm actually feeling like not terrible. Like my head hurts because like I knew I hit my head on something, but it wasn't like I couldn't move or, you know, something like that. You know, I felt relative. I just felt like I had a really bad headache, to be honest. So, you know, going to the hospital, I was like, you know what, I might have gotten lucky. You know, I might be all right. I just gotta wait till Jackson gets out of the hospital. I can go home. And I could start getting over this and everything will be okay. But man, it was far from that. We went to the hospital. Once we went to the hospital, I never saw Jackson again. I don't know what happened. We got out of the ambulance, they took him somewhere, and like I never saw him for like another like couple days. It was kind of weird, but I have no idea where he went. Anyways, I was waiting in the I was just waiting in the waiting area, waiting for Jackson to get done with the hospital so that I could leave with him, and I'll just get my parents there. I let them know and everything, and then all of a sudden a doctor pulls me over and he's like, "Man, you know, I think we should just examine you just in case." And you know, that doctor had a good hunch, because once I sat down, it was weird. Like I felt okay, but once I sat down and I laid on my back, I just vomited everywhere. Like literally everywhere. On myself, on the bed, on the ground. Like dude, wherever there was space, I was vomiting there, and it was really gross. That's kind of how I knew. I was like, man, I probably have a pretty good head injury if I'm vomiting over this. So, you know, my hunch was right. That's also kind of why they sat me down again, because they're like, yeah, man, you don't look so good. Maybe we should get you checked out just in case. And that was definitely the right move. Oh my god. Take that. Once they realized I actually had a brain injury, they went ahead and they looked through my ears and realized that I was actually bleeding from my brain after they did a CT scan. So then once they realized I had a brain injury, they sent me to a different hospital in downtown Seattle, which specializes in head injuries and whatnot. So I was sent down there, and this all happened at like 9:30 at night. So like I was up all night transferring hospitals, going from, you know, ambulance to ambulance. It was an extremely long night, and I didn't want to sleep either because I was scared. You know, like sometimes they say, you know, if you have a brain injury and then you fall asleep, you could never wake up again. So I didn't want to fall asleep. It was really hard for me to do, but I ended up going into the emergency room in the downtown Seattle hospital, where I sat there for a very long time. And they laid me flat on my back the entire time because they didn't know if I had a spinal injury or not, which I mean, I didn't think I did, because the only thing that hurt was my head, but obviously they didn't know. I mean, really, I didn't know either. So I had to stare at a ceiling while on my back. You know, I had to sit on my back the whole time. So the only thing I saw for like 12 to 14 hours straight was just a ceiling, and those were the slowest 14 hours, like 12 to 14 hours of my entire life, dude. Like it was so boring. It was like watching paint dry, but I was sitting there watching a ceiling. It got to the point where I was like memorizing like the beeps of the hospital. Like I knew when they were coming and whatnot. Like it was so bad. I was just so happy to just get off my back so I could at least move, look around, you know, see my family, because I couldn't really even see them because I was looking straight up the whole time. And I was also just really high on a lot of drugs because they didn't know if I was in a lot of pain or not, so they kind of just pumped me full of them. So I was kind of tripping balls for a while. At this point, it was the next day. They cleared me to sit up, and I didn't know if I was able to go home or not because I didn't know the severity of my injury until they came back the next day and they told me, yeah, you have internal bleeding inside your head, and if the bleeding doesn't stop and it furthers and advances, then we're gonna have to perform surgery on your head, which was one of the scariest things I've ever heard in my entire life. I'm not gonna lie, because the last thing I wanted was to have surgery on my head. So thank God that it didn't come to that, but I have a feeling I was pretty close to it because the way they were talking, it didn't sound too good. One of the scariest parts about this whole thing is that no one else remembered what happened except for myself. Even to this day, no one else knows what happened. I mean, I tell them, but then themselves can't remember what happened. So that was kind of scary. The only thing, it's kind of meshing into a blur the farther it passes. But one thing I always do remember is I always remember us losing control of the car. I remember seeing their headlights beaming at me as the closer we got, and I remember us just hearing the skirting sound, the skirt, as we hit the car. I remember hitting the car. I remember hearing the sound. I remember blacking out, and then waking up and everything was still. It was creepy. It was a weird vibe. I sat in the hospital for I think 2.5, maybe 3 days. Those were the longest 2.5, 3 days of my life. It was weird. I couldn't take a shower. They wouldn't let me do anything on my own besides maybe go to the bathroom and eat. That was about it. Everything else they had to do for me. They would check up on me every like 2 or 3 hours. Even in the middle of the night, they'd come in, wake me up, make sure I was okay. I totally get it, but I was just being straight up with them. I was like, when's the soonest I can get out of here? Because like, you guys are great and all. They really were. They were nice and everything. I just couldn't stand being in the hospital. It's weird, it's creepy, people were dying in there, and I'm like trying to get out of there. Like I'm not meant to be here, so it was just kind of freaking me out. Losing patience and whatnot, but I can't just leave. So dealt with my brain bleed for a couple months before it was fully gone. They said it would take 6 months to a year to fully recover, and I was fully recovered within about a month and a half, which I was super fortunate for. But I still have some lasting injuries from that that involves my brain and my vision. I'm not too good with fast motion, like turning around really quickly or spinning in circles, stuff like that. Like I get dizzy really quickly is what I'm trying to say. I get dizzy really quickly. Loud, like extremely loud noises still anger me. Like I'll just flip on a dime and I can't control it with like screaming babies or really loud dogs or stuff like that. But other than that, I'm pretty fortunate to still be here. Jackson has pretty much fully recovered. He's still got a little bit to go because he had more physical injuries with his back, his fingers, his knees. But we both also had concussions. Bailey's still recovering as well. But it was just really one hell of an experience for all of us, and it's something I'll never forget, that's for sure. I thought this was a video I kind of had to make though, because I still get questions about it and everything, and I thought it'd be good to just sit down and explain it one last time, so then there's a clear consensus on kind of just what went down from my perspective and what happened after the accident as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. To the people that do still watch my videos, I do appreciate it. It's going through a tough time on the channel, but I'm having more fun, enjoying what I'm doing, and that's really what matters. And I know it'll turn around one day. Just gotta be patient and wait on it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you guys. It means a lot. And to the people that still stick around, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.